And the queen is raised separately, right? So they've never met her until they got put in the box with her.
Right there. This is Ellis Island.
Uh-huh.
These are all different colonies. They got a queen from Hawaii.
Oh, wow. Aloha, little bees.
Literally dropping them into the box. How much they hate me for doing this.
Yeah, they might not be so happy I'm standing this close.
That's when they're being pretty forgiving.
Well, I might back up a little bit. So then they'll pull out some comb and start gathering some food, and she'll take her mating flight. So she'll take one mating flight for her whole life, right?
I think that's wrong. That is what they teach.
But you think they go out more than once?
They definitely go out for a couple of days, and I've seen queens on camera going out after they've been laid for a couple months.
Oh, wow.
But if they told that to anybody, they'd want to see the timestamp video, which I don't have to show them. Otherwise, they think I'm just a liar. These are already mated, supposedly.
Oh, okay. So she made it in Hawaii?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well and keeping yourselves busy and not too stressed. Kind of hard right now in this world the way it is, but we're doing our best here. The weather's been good and we've got our land to go out on, so that's always helpful. So I have just a short episode for you today. I wanted to talk to you guys some about the things that have been keeping me busy or keeping me company that I've been really enjoying. So let's get right to it. The first thing I wanted to show you is the only thing I've been knitting on and my finished object. It's my shawl. So let me get up so you can see the whole thing. Here it is. I love the way it turned out. I love how it looks like a bullseye from the yarn. I'll get a little closer so you can see some details. So here's the center of the spiral, and then it spirals out to more slip stitches and just a simple border. It ended up being about 50 inches in diameter. This one is knit with, it's knit with fingering sport-ish weight yarn. It's all hand spun. So my thought was it'd be a really nice simple pattern that you could start with basically 8 stitches and any weight yarn you want to use, as well as making it as big as you want. You could have, just something small for a table or to put on a table like a doily or something, or you could make it as big as your bed if you want to, depending on how much yarn you want to use. But basically, either 2 solid colors or a solid and something variegated or stripy or however you want to do it. It's kind of a a recipe for whatever kind of spiral you want. But I love how it turned out. I like the size of it. Someone was asking me, if you wear it as a shawl, how would you wear it? You could fold it in half and clip it over your shoulders. You could just fold the top down a little bit to make it about as wide as your shoulders, and then put that around your shoulders, and then have the rest of the circle hanging down so that it's nice and long. You could use it as a lap blanket, whatever you want to do. Of course, circular shawls aren't as flexible as a triangular shawl or a long rectangle, but I just liked the feel of knitting it. It was kind of meditative. All I had to do was sit down and know that I was knitting, and I didn't have to think about anything. You can read your knitting when you see there's the next slip stitch, so I know what I'm going to do then. So it was really nice. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I know I'm going to publish it. It might just be a free recipe. I'm not sure yet. I'm trying not to stress myself out about next patterns. But there it is, and I love it. I think it's beautiful and spring-like. So I'll let you know what I do with it, and definitely I'll post some pictures to Instagram and stuff so you can see it. So that's it as far as knitting. That is all I've done, and it's been really lovely seeing so many people diving into their crafting, because you're at home and you've got your knitting, you've got your sewing, you've got your crocheting and all of that, even the baking, and it's been a lot of fun to see people diving into those. I've enjoyed watching it, but I've also felt kind of disconnected from it because I'm not doing any sewing. Well, I guess I did a little. But this is the only knitting I've been focusing on. Like, I'm not posting any pictures of my crafting, really, because I've been doing a lot of baking. I've been doing a lot of schooling. I know that, well, Kaya's school is kind of taken care of because she has plans. They have ideas of what they're going to be doing each day. But for Leaf's school, he basically has 1 hour in the morning, and that's it. And for him as a 5th grader, that's just not enough for him to be ready for the 6th grade. So he and I have been doing full days. And so I've been spending most of my weekdays hanging out with Leaf and doing things with him and trying to dedicate that time and not feel pressured to do any dyeing, any knitting, anything that feels like work or a stressor. So yeah, it's been nice to see everything you guys have been creating. I'm sitting, actually, I just wanted to tell you about this because I'm noticing this past fall we had to redo this whole area right here. It was actually just a bunch of weeds, but underneath is the start of our septic tank. So the whole thing was dug up and we had to do some work on the septic. So when it was done, I threw out a bunch of seeds. I had a lot, so all of this, you can see some crimson clover starting to come up. I had some oats, I had some rye, and I had a lot of Dyer's coreopsis, and as I look right now around me, there's a bunch of it coming up, so I'm super excited. The little spot that I'm in is actually just barely 3 or 4 inches tall because I think some deer have been coming in and munching this area, but then back behind me, they haven't touched it. I think as it goes up the hill, they haven't wanted to get into it. But I think this field is going to be full of Dyer's coreopsis, which is going to be really cool. So I wanted to tell you about a few things that have been keeping me company or helping out with self-isolation. The first thing is something that I think you guys would all enjoy, and it is called the Tour Guy. So 2 years ago, when my family went to Italy to spend some time there, we did 2 tours, one in Rome of a basilica and catacombs, and another one of Pompeii and Mount Vesuvius. And we went with a company called The Tour Guy. And it started out with just a guy who was giving tours, and it's built and it has grown into a really big thing, I think around Italy, France, and Spain. But it looks like there's some other places also. So what they're doing now, because none of them, this large tour group now can't give tours, they've gone online. So each individual tour guide for a specific area who knows something really well has developed an online tour. So what you do is you actually log in and you get one code for your television, so as many people can sit down and watch as you want. Your whole family can sit down if they're all there with you. And they're anywhere from like $10 to $20 for an hour to a 2-hour tour. And you are actually there talking with the person who gives the tour. They are live, and they show you pictures and videos and tell you all about the places. So we've done the catacombs of Paris, and we've also done online Mount Vesuvius and Pompeii. And for example, when we were doing Pompeii, I think it was like 10:30 there, and it was 4:30, I think, where we are. And the man gave us about an hour and a half of just wonderful history and pictures and videos and all kinds of information. And it was $10. So it's like, it was, first of all, a fabulous way to homeschool your kids if you're wanting to get in some education. There's history, there's geography, there's all kinds of information. We actually learned a lot about the foods that they ate in ancient Pompeii, and then my daughter was like, let's do that. So the next time I ended up going to the grocery store, I picked up a bunch of things like fresh figs and dates and focaccia bread and different things that they might have had back then. And we had a dinner just like they would eat in Pompeii, which was really cool. So I'll put a link down below so you can hook up with that, because that was a really fun thing. And they have probably 15 or 20 virtual tours going on now. There's one of the Eiffel Tower, there's one of the Louvre, there are a few in Italy, I think there's a couple in Spain, and I even noticed, I think there were a couple potentially in Africa. There were some new ones that were recently mentioned, but anyway, you should check it out because it's a lot of fun. So some other things that I've been doing, I've been doing a lot of foraging. It is morel season around here, and we have a lot on our land, so we've been cooking up some morels. And this is a book that I got recently called The Forager's Harvest, a guide to identifying, harvesting, and preparing edible wild plants. And this is by Samuel Thayer. And I really liked this because there's a few things that I know around here are edible, but I don't know much about them, so I have not eaten them. And one of those is milkweed. And I remember hearing somewhere in my brain, I remember hearing at some point that milkweed is poisonous, and I think it was because monarchs eat the, they drink the nectar from the flowers, and then they are poisonous to birds. So I think that was how it started. I'm not positive. But in here he talks about how not only are the stalks edible, but the flowers and the pods are edible. So we had some milkweed stalks in our stir fry the other day, which was really cool. So anyway, if you're interested in wild harvest foods, this is a good one. I've been having a lot of fun with it. Another thing that I really enjoyed that actually corresponds with that is the newest Taproot Magazine. First, it has Dear Mars of Hey Brownberry, a beautiful article that she wrote about when she stopped working and kind of came back home, because she traveled a lot, and so she was talking about being at home and connecting with home again, not just the people in the house but the land around her, and finding her place. It was a really beautiful article. But they also have, so this issue is called Forage, and it's all about foraging, whether it's foraging for natural dyes or natural foods or what. And it just so happened that I had started making pasta, and a couple weeks ago, I guess. And there's an article on homemade spring pastas, and this one specifically talks about how to make laminated pasta. So basically she rolls the pasta out so it's pretty flat, then she folds into it edible leaves and flowers and rolls it out once more, and then can cut it into fettuccine or thick pastas, or use it for ravioli or whatever. But you've got the plants inside, like the plant picture. It's almost like eco-printed pasta. So it's really cool. So we're going to be doing that tomorrow, actually. And I think it's just been fun playing with the foods at home. I think we might even make it pink pasta. Maybe we'll add a touch of madder root or a little bit of cochineal. I made some focaccia bread this morning that had butterfly pea flower in it, so it was a lavender color, which was really cool. So we're being creative at home and having fun with it. Especially, it just feels so good right now. because we don't want to go to the grocery store much. We don't want to go out. We want to stay at home. It feels good to eat the foods that are around us. And I know that for those of you who are in apartments that don't have access to foods immediately around you, or you might not know where to gather from a garden or a park that isn't sprayed, it would be a lot harder to do. But even if you can, I would look into some of the wild foods that might be around you, because I think you'd be surprised how many there are, like burdock and dandelion and some of those things that everybody considers just weeds or nuisance weeds. A lot of them are edible. Even, clover. You can make teas out of the clover. So yes, I would take a look at that. The other magazine that I got that I've just started looking at is the Mason-Dixon Knitting Field Guide number 14, which is Refresh. And this is actually the first field guide I've ever seen. It's super cute. I like the size because you can easily tuck it in your knitting bag. They have 4 beautiful patterns this month by Carol Feller. And I think the one that jumped out at me the most right off was the little hat. There's a sweater, there's a shawl, and kind of a vest, but then it's called the Arcade Cap. I just think that's super cute. So that might be my next cast on. It'd be fun, it'd be fairly intuitive, and you can't have too many hats. And the other thing, this is one other acquisition that I have. And this I actually purchased when I think I was in Norway, and I purchased it online because I saw it coming through. So let me set up the story for you. I had been looking for a hand hammered needle. I've seen a few people creating silver embroidery needles, basically, or darning needles. Not embroidery, a darning needle. And I really wanted one, but I hadn't seen the right one. And I saw on Instagram a brand new account called Evolution Needle, and I saw this needle and I was like, that is it. That's absolutely what I was wanting. And so I went ahead and purchased it. And I'm not sure why I had such a gut reaction to it. I didn't know why until I finally got it. And I'm wearing it. I'll bring it closer so you can see it. But the first thing is that you could see kind of the hammer marks on it. It seems just the slightest bit rough, like handmade. And I like silver. But it was something to do with the shape. This is called the serpent needle. I think there's 4 different types of needles, and there's also, you can get a set of stitch markers either in silver or gold. Or not gold, maybe it's brass. I'll have the link down below so you can see it all. But as soon as I got this, I remembered that my father, when I was younger, he had a little, it's called a horn. I'm not sure what the Italian name is, but it's basically kind of like a talisman to ward off evil and to promote good health and good luck, but it's supposed to kind of keep the evil eye away from you. And I just loved that. Like, that was there were very few things that he had that were from his childhood or from Italy or from his relatives. And he gave it to me. So I still have it. It unfortunately has broken. It's done out of coral. I think it's a little orangey red thing. And it looks just like this, except much smaller. So there's something about that little twist to it that just made me super excited to have it. And now it feels like my little talisman. But it's also like, it especially this time in the world, it's a reminder to me that I can create, not just knitting, but I can create the world that I want around me. I have control over so many things around me, and I can make those the best that I can. Like, I can create a positive attitude, I can create good food, I can DIY my life, if that makes any sense. And so I absolutely love it. It feels good. So it's called Evolution Needle, and it's just a small business, and I believe they're based in Canada. So I'll put a link below. They have some really beautiful beautiful thing. So let me bring this closer, and I'll also show you the little stitch markers. One thing that I actually really liked when I looked at this company is just the description that they had on the website, and they have this on the back of the cards too, and I'll read it to you. It says, 40,000 years ago, around the time of the first cave paintings, a tiny little tool was invented that changed the course of history: the needle. The needle provided early humans with a newfound ability to create warm clothing, meaning they could settle in colder climates, which changed everything. Our ancestors would go on to dye threads and use the needle for creative expression, shaping culture in every village, tribe, and clan around the globe. As necessary today as it was back then, our functional handmade wearable needle pendants are inspired by the designs of our early ancestors. So, I like that. Let me show you what it looks like. So here are the stitch markers. I think there's 6 of them. And they're super beautiful. Little circles, little hand-hammered circles. And here's the necklace. I've never actually used it. I had the opportunity to when I was weaving in the ends of the shawl, but I didn't want to take it off. Kind of swinging on the swing over there. So the only other thing I've done is a little bit of sewing. I did sew up some masks. I just grabbed some little pieces that I had of scrap material and made them, and then I dipped them all in indigo, because indigo is antibacterial, antimicrobial. It's not antiviral that I know of, but I thought it can't hurt, because the samurai warriors used to use indigo partly because of its ability to help them from wounds getting infected and stuff. So I thought, why not? So either the whole thing was dipped in indigo, or the inside has some indigo. This one has some little owls on it. This one has yellow roses. I thought, why not make them something we want to wear? And this one has some little transportation. The only problem is that I don't have a lot of elastic. I have very little, actually. I have enough to make a few ear things. And I ordered some, but it hasn't come yet. It's been sitting in a post office somewhere for 2 weeks. So I know some people have been using strips of t-shirt, and I didn't have any t-shirt material, but we probably have some old ones I could tear up if I need it. But I made 29 of them, not for any other reason other than I just kept wanting to make more. So my hope is that once I get some elastic, or, figure out enough material for the ear straps, I'm going to give them to my parents and neighbors and stuff like that who might need them. So that's the only sewing that I've been doing. It felt good to get the sewing machine out again. I probably won't do much more, but a little bit felt good. I've definitely been doing lots of gardening because the weather has been amazing. We've had, 1 or 2 rain showers a week, enough to water everything, and then the sun comes out like it is now. And the temperature has been really beautiful. It's been in the 60s and sometimes in the 70s, so it's been nice to get out. I've planted some more elder. We have a big wild patch, but I thought it'd be nice to plant some different varieties just to encourage more berry growth. And we've put in strawberries, and I've got lots of dye plants that are growing, seedlings that are popping up. So yeah. If you guys are doing anything in your dye garden this year, we do have the dye garden along in Ravelry, the thread, so you can get in there and talk to people who are growing their own dye plants. And at the end of the year, I'm thinking, for those who want, maybe we'll do a seed exchange so that we have lots of seeds for next year. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. I love you guys, and I hope you're staying safe and healthy. I hope you are able to take time to enjoy each other and what you're doing right now, and soak in as much positive energy as possible. Hopefully I'll be able to see you guys again in person soon. Love you all. Take care. Bye.